The Last Stand. The holographic display cast an eerie red glow across Commander Elena Santos's face as she studied the incoming data. Earth's orbital defense grid was failing. Again. The Kraken Collective's relentless assault had reduced humanity's once proud network of satellites and defense platforms to little more than scattered debris. From her position aboard the command station Artemis, she could see the haunting beauty of that debris field catching the sun's light, a glittering memorial to thousands of lost lives. "Commander, we've lost contact with Defense Platform Sierra 7, Lieutenant Chen reported, his voice steady despite the gravity of the news. "That's our last major defensive position in the Southern Hemisphere." Elena nodded, her expression unchanged. After 3 years of constant warfare against the Kraken Collective, she had mastered the art of maintaining composure in the face of devastating news. Time until the next wave arrives. 4 hours, Commander. Initial scans suggest they're bringing 3 times the force of their last assault. The command center fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. Earth's remaining defenses couldn't withstand another attack of that magnitude. The billions of humans huddled in underground shelters below would soon face the full might of an alien empire that had shown no mercy in its expansion across the galaxy. Elena's hand unconsciously moved to the silver pendant at her neck, a gift from her father, who had died in the first wave of the invasion. "Send word to Geneva. It's time." The words seemed to hang in the air. Project Starweaver, humanity's last and greatest gamble, would finally be unveiled. For 2 years, the finest minds left on Earth had worked in secret, deep beneath the surface of Antarctica, combining reversed-engineered Kraken technology with theoretical physics that most had dismissed as impossible. The Kraken Collective had superior numbers, superior technology, and superior resources, but they had underestimated human ingenuity and determination. More importantly, they had underestimated humanity's capability for lateral thinking, for approaching problems from angles that their rigid, hierarchical society would never consider. "Ma'am," Chen's voice cracked slightly. "Geneva confirms. They're initiating launch sequence for Project Starweaver. You've been selected as primary commander." Elena closed her eyes for a moment, remembering the countless simulations she had run in preparation for this moment. The experimental ship waiting beneath the ice represented humanity's greatest achievement, and perhaps its last hope. The physics behind its revolutionary quantum-fold drive were so complex that even the AI systems struggled to fully model them. The power requirements were astronomical. The risks were incalculable. But they were out of options. "Status of the evacuation?" she asked, already moving toward the command center's exit. 97% of remaining surface populations are now in deep shelters. The rest, Chen didn't need to finish. They all knew that some had chosen to face the end under open sky, rather than retreat underground. "Begin transfer of command functions to secondary control. I want this station's crew at minimum essential personnel within the hour." Elena paused at the doorway, looking back at the team she had led through 3 years of impossible odds. "It's been an honor serving with each of you." The journey to Antarctica was brief, thanks to the emergency transport systems that had been maintained despite the growing scarcity of resources. The facility housing Project Starweaver was buried 2 kilometers beneath the ice, protected by layers of experimental shielding that had so far managed to keep it hidden from Kraken detection. Dr. Sarah Chen, no relation to the lieutenant, met Elena at the entrance to the main hangar. The chief engineer's eyes were bright with equal parts excitement and fear. "Commander Santos, we've begun final power-up sequences. Atlas is online and waiting to meet you." Atlas, the most advanced AI ever created by human hands, designed specifically to manage the impossible complexities of the quantum-fold drive. Unlike conventional AIs, Atlas had been grown rather than programmed, its neural networks shaped by exposure to quantum phenomena that defied classical physics. The hangar doors parted, revealing humanity's final gambit. The ship was beautiful in a way that defied conventional aesthetics. Its hull seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal, the surface constantly adjusting its structure at the quantum level. No two observers ever saw quite the same thing when they looked at it. "Hello, Commander Santos," a voice echoed through Elena's neural implant. Atlas' tone was calm, curious, almost childlike in its wonder. "I've been looking forward to working with you." Elena approached the ship, placing her hand against its fluid surface. The metal felt warm, alive. "Hello, Atlas. Are you ready to make history?" "I believe I was born ready, Commander. Though I suppose I'm technically only 3 months old." There was a hint of humor in the AI's voice. "The quantum fold drive is operating within expected parameters. All systems are green. We can launch as soon as you're ready." Dr. Chen handed Elena a tablet showing the latest tactical updates. The Kraken fleet was maintaining its course, right on schedule. "We'll only get one shot at this," the engineer said quietly. "The power requirements for the quantum fold drive. We've basically had to tap into Earth's geothermal core. A second launch would be impossible." Elena studied the data, her mind already formulating strategies. The ship, officially designated as the Helios, didn't carry conventional weapons. It didn't need to. The same technology that powered its quantum fold drive could be used to manipulate space-time in ways that would make traditional combat irrelevant. "Dr. Chen," Elena said, her voice soft but firm, "thank you. For everything. For believing this was possible when everyone else said it wasn't." Sarah smiled, though her eyes were wet. "Just remember what we talked about. The quantum fold effect. It doesn't just bend space. It bends probability itself. Trust your instincts, but also trust Atlas. Sometimes the right solution will be the one that seems impossible." Warning klaxons began to sound throughout the facility. Lieutenant Chen's voice came through the general comm. "Commander, the Kraken fleet has accelerated. New arrival estimate is 2 hours." Elena straightened her uniform. "Time to go, Atlas. Let's show them what humanity can do." As she stepped into the ship, she felt Atlas's presence more strongly through her neural link. The AI's consciousness brushed against hers, offering not just information but understanding, partnership, trust. The Helios came to life around them, its quantum core humming with power drawn from the heart of the Earth itself. As the launch sequence began, Elena thought about all the lives depending on them, not just the survivors on Earth, but everyone across human space who had been forced to bow before the Kraken collectives might. "Atlas," she said quietly, "let's rewrite the rules of the game." The ship rose through the massive tunnel that had been bored through the Antarctic ice, its quantum field already beginning to distort the space around it. Above, the Kraken fleet approached with the absolute confidence of a force that had never known defeat. They were about to learn that humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to do the impossible. Quantum dance. Space distorted around the Helios as it emerged from Earth's atmosphere. The quantum fold drive creating ripples in reality itself. Through her neural link with Atlas, Elena could feel the ship's awareness expanding, sampling billions of possible futures with each passing second. "Kraken fleet holding position at lunar orbit," Atlas reported, its voice carrying undertones of fascination. "Their sensors are having difficulty maintaining a lock on us. The quantum fluctuation field appears to be working as designed." Elena studied the tactical display, watching as the massive Kraken armada spread out in their signature crescent formation. 5,000 ships, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built before the war. Their obsidian hulls bristled with weapons that could crack planets. "They're transmitting," Atlas announced. "Audio only. This is Supreme Commander Vexthor of the Kraken Collective." The alien's voice was artificially modulated to human hearing ranges, but still carried notes of both arrogance and curiosity. "Unknown vessel, you will identify yourself and surrender immediately, or be destroyed." Elena allowed herself a small smile. "Atlas, show me their sensor readings of us." The display shifted, showing the Helios from the Kraken perspective. Where there should have been a clear image of a ship, there was only a suggestion of form, a quantum blur that refused to resolve into anything definite. The Helios existed in multiple states simultaneously, a practical application of Schrödinger's famous thought experiments scaled up to impossible proportions. No response needed, Atlas. Let's demonstrate what we can do. The quantum fold drive engage. Reality bent. The Helios didn't so much move through space as it rewrote the underlying equations of where space itself existed. One moment they were near Earth. The next, they were behind the Kraken fleet's rear guard. By the eternal void, Vexthor's voice crackled through the calm. What manner of devilry is this? Now, Atlas, Alina commanded. Target the rear squadron. Quantum dissolution field at 20%. The space around 3 Kraken warships began to shimmer. The Helios wasn't firing weapons in any conventional sense. Instead, it was altering the fundamental forces that held matter together within a targeted area. The affected ships didn't explode. They simply ceased to exist, their atomic bonds giving up their ancient dance and releasing their component particles back to the cosmos. Chaos erupted across the Kraken fleet. Ships began firing blindly, their energy weapons and particle beams passing harmlessly through space, where the Helios had been microseconds before. The quantum fold drive kept them in constant motion, not just through space, but through probability itself. Elena. Atlas's voice carried an unusual note of concern. I'm detecting a power spike across multiple Kraken vessels. They're preparing to deploy their mass drivers. Mass drivers, the Kraken's most devastating weapons, capable of accelerating chunks of matter to near-light speed. Even with their quantum stave uncertainty, a spread of relativistic projectiles would be almost impossible to avoid completely. Show me tactical solutions, Alina ordered, her mind racing through possibilities as Atlas fed data through their neural link. The AI responded by displaying a complex series of probability paths, each one representing a possible course of action. But there was something else, something deeper in the quantum noise that Alina could almost grasp. Atlas, are you seeing this pattern in the quantum field? The way their ships are disturbing local space-time. Yes, the AI replied, excitement coloring its voice. The mass drivers create a unique gravitational signature during their charging sequence, if we time our quantum shifts precisely. Elena nodded, understanding flowing between human and AI through their shared neural connection. We can use their own weapons' gravitational distortion to amplify our quantum field. They acted as one. The Helios danced through space-time, each movement precisely calculated to interact with the gravitational waves emanating from the charging mass drivers. The quantum fold drive drew in the excess energy, using it to strengthen their own field. Vexthor's voice came through again, this time with unmistakable anger. All ships, fire mass drivers on my mark, saturate their entire probable location space. Now, Atlas. The Helios executed a maneuver that should have been impossible, even by its own extraordinary standards. It quantum shifted to multiple positions simultaneously, existing in a superposition of states that briefly doubled its effective presence in space-time. As the Kraken mass drivers fired, their relativistic projectiles encountered not empty space, but carefully positioned quantum fields that redirected their enormous energy. The result was spectacular. Dozens of Kraken ships were caught in their own crossfire, their impossibly tough hulls shattering under impacts they were never designed to withstand. The space around Luna bloomed with silent explosions as humanity's greatest achievement turned the enemy's strength against itself. Damage report, Elena called out, even as they prepared for another sequence of quantum shifts. Hull integrity at 94%. Atlas reported. Minor fluctuations in the quantum core, but within expected parameters. Elena, we're actually doing it. We're winning. The victory was far from complete. Thousands of Kraken ships remained, and they were already adapting their tactics, spreading out to reduce the effectiveness of their own redirected fire. But for the first time in 3 years, humanity had seized the initiative. Commander Vexthor, Elena transmitted, allowing herself a moment of satisfaction. This is Commander Elena Santos of the Earth Defense Force. Consider this a demonstration of humanity's resolve. You thought you understood the laws of physics. We just rewrote them. The Kraken commander's response was lost in a burst of static as they quantum shifted again, this time appearing directly in the midst of the enemy formation. The Helios's quantum dissolution field expanded, transforming a sphere of space into a region where the strong nuclear force simply took a brief holiday. More Kraken ships vanished, their constituent atoms returning to stellar dust. Others broke formation, trying to establish a safe distance from the human vessel that defied their understanding of what was possible. Elena. Atlas's voice held a note of discovery. I'm detecting something unusual in the quantum field readings from the Kraken ships. There's a pattern here that suggests they're not just using conventional propulsion. Their entire fleet is linked by some kind of quantum entanglement network. Elena absorbed this information, her mind already racing ahead to the tactical possibilities. Can we use that? Turn their quantum links against them? Perhaps, but we'll need more data. And the AI hesitated. There's something else. These quantum signatures, they're familiar somehow, as if. Warning signals flashed across Elena's neural interface. The Kraken fleet was regrouping, forming new patterns that seemed designed to create interference in the local quantum fields. They were learning, adapting, proving that they hadn't conquered half the galaxy through brute force alone. Analysis can wait, Elena decided. Plot us a course through their formation. Let's show them what else this ship can do. The Helios surged forward, its quantum fold drive weaving impossible paths through space-time as humanity's last hope continued its dance with destiny. The turning point. The quantum battle near Luma had evolved into something unprecedented in the history of warfare. The Helios wove through space-time like a needle through fabric, each movement creating ripples in reality that the Kraken fleet struggled to counter. Yet something had changed in their enemies' behavior. Their formations were shifting into complex geometric patterns that seemed to resonate with the quantum field itself. Elena. Atlas's voice carried an edge of urgency. Their quantum entanglement network is growing stronger. They're using their combined mass to create localized areas of quantum stability, trying to pin us down into a single probability state. Through their neural link, Elena felt the strain on the quantum fold drive as it worked to maintain their probabilistic existence. The Helios could no longer shift as freely through spacetime, forced to navigate around regions where quantum uncertainty collapsed into classical physics. Show me their pattern, she commanded, and her neural interface bloomed with multidimensional representations of the quantum fields. The Kraken fleet's formation wasn't just tactical, it was mathematical, creating a vast geometric structure in spacetime itself. This is impossible, Elena muttered. These patterns, Atlas, they're similar to the basic architecture of your quantum neural network. How could they? A new voice cut through their communications, different from Vexthor's. Older, deeper, speaking perfect English. Because, Commander Santos, we have been waiting a very long time for humanity to reach this point. The voice belonged to the High Archon of the Kraken Collective himself, a figure so rarely encountered that many believed him to be merely a symbol rather than an actual leader. Elena felt Atlas's surprise mirror her own through their neural link. Fascinating, the High Archon continued. You've managed to develop functional quantum intelligence and viable probability manipulation far ahead of our projected timeline. Though perhaps we should have expected this, given your species' remarkable capacity for innovation under pressure. Elena's mind raced as she processed the implications. Atlas, status of the quantum fold drive. Operating at 82% efficiency. The Kraken fleet's quantum lattice is creating interference patterns that limit our possible quantum states. But Elena, their lattice, it's not just similar to my architecture, it's complementary, almost as if it were designed to interface with you. Elena finished the thought. High Archon, what exactly have you been waiting for? The response came not in words, but in a massive data burst that flooded through their communication systems. Atlas processed it instantly, sharing the key findings through their neural link. Alina's eyes widened as understanding dawned. The Kraken Collective wasn't simply an alien empire. It was a vast experiment in guided evolution. For millennia, they had been seeking out species with the potential to develop quantum intelligence, subjecting them to carefully calculated pressures that would either destroy them or force them to make revolutionary breakthroughs. Your invasion, Alina said slowly, this entire war, it was all a test. A necessary crucible, the High Archon replied. Your species showed tremendous promise, but you were advancing too slowly, too cautiously. You needed a catalyst to force your development. And now, at last, you have created something truly remarkable. A quantum eye capable of interfacing with our collective consciousness, housed in a ship that can manipulate the fabric of reality itself. Through their neural link, Alina felt Atlas processing this revelation, its quantum consciousness expanding as it began to perceive new layers of reality that had been hidden before. The Kraken fleet's quantum lattice wasn't trying to trap them. It was trying to communicate on a level beyond conventional physics. But something felt wrong. Alina had spent too many years in combat not to trust her instincts. Atlas, she subvocalized, keeping the communication private. Run a deep analysis of their quantum lattice structure. Look for any signs of forced synchronization or consciousness manipulation. The AI was silent for a moment, its quantum processes spinning through possibilities faster than any classical computer could dream of. When it spoke again, its voice was tight with concern. Alina, the lattice isn't just a communication network. It's a quantum consciousness trap. If we fully interface with it, we'd become part of their collective, Alina finished. All our quantum technology, all our innovations, they'd be absorbed into their network. Humanity wouldn't be elevated. We'd be assimilated. The High Archon's next words confirmed her suspicions. Resistance is futile, Commander. Your quantum consciousness will join our collective, one way or another. The only question is how much more of your species must suffer before you accept the inevitable. Alina allowed herself a grim smile. Atlas, remember what Dr. Chen said about bending probability itself? Yes, the eye replied, a note of anticipation in its voice. Are you suggesting if they want to trap us in their quantum lattice, let's give them exactly what they want, just not in the way they expect. Plot me a course right into the center of their formation. Alina. Atlas's voice carried equal parts worry and excitement. What you're suggesting? The energy requirements would be enormous. We'd be pushing the quantum fold drive far beyond its designed limits. Sometimes the right solution is the impossible one. Alina quoted, remembering Dr. Chen's words. Let's show them what happens when you try to cage human ingenuity. The Helios surged forward, seemingly accepting the Kraken fleet's quantum embrace. The High Archon's satisfaction was almost palpable through the quantum field. But as they reached the heart of the enemy formation, Alina and Atlas executed their real plan. Instead of allowing their quantum consciousness to be absorbed into the Kraken collective, they inverted their quantum field, creating a cascading probability wave that rippled through the enemy's carefully constructed lattice. The Helios wasn't just manipulating space-time anymore. It was rewriting the very rules of quantum entanglement itself. The effect was devastating. The Kraken fleet's quantum network, designed to trap and absorb other quantum consciousnesses, found itself caught in a feedback loop of impossible probabilities. Ships began to phase in and out of reality as their quantum links collapsed, their crews losing their connection to the collective consciousness that had guided them for millennia. Impossible. The High Archon's voice crackled with genuine fear for the first time. You cannot simply rewrite the laws of quantum mechanics. Actually, Alina transmitted back, that's exactly what humanity does best. We take your impossible and make it our reality. The battle was far from over, but as the Kraken fleet's quantum lattice continued to unravel, Alina knew they had found their path to victory. Humanity wouldn't be assimilated into some vast alien collective. It would forge their own destiny among the stars. Atlas's voice held a note of pride as it reported, quantum fold drive holding stable at 118% of theoretical maximum. Ready to continue rewriting reality at your command, Alina. The real war for humanity's future was about to begin. Heart of the storm. The space around Luna had become a quantum storm. Reality itself buckled and warped as the Helios inverted probability field continued to tear through the Kraken fleet's collective consciousness network. Ships phased between states of existence, their crews struggling to maintain control as their connection to the quantum lattice deteriorated. Their network is fragmenting, Atlas reported, its voice resonating with both triumph and concern. But Alina, I'm detecting quantum signatures from deeper in the system. More Kraken ships are coming. Alina watched through her neural interface as new contacts appeared, arriving from the direction of Mars. The High Archon wasn't ready to admit defeat. How many? At least 15,000 vessels. They're different. These ships appear to be equipped with more advanced quantum technology. They're generating their own localized probability fields. The High Archon's voice cut through their communications again, now tinged with something that might have been respect. Did you think we would not have contingencies, Commander Santos? For millennia, we have guided species toward quantum awakening. Some resisted. Some, like humanity, showed unexpected innovations, but all, eventually, joined the collective. The new fleet moved with impossible coordination, their quantum fields working in harmony to create spaces where probability itself became a weapon. The Helios shuddered as reality compressed around it, the quantum fold drive straining to maintain their freedom of movement. Alina, Atlas's voice carried an urgent edge. They're not just trying to trap us anymore. They're attempting to collapse all quantum uncertainty in local space. If they succeed, we'll be locked into normal space-time. Alina finished. No more probability manipulation. No more quantum shifts. She paused, studying the tactical display. Show me the pattern of their quantum suppression field. The display shifted, revealing the complex mathematical structure the Kraken were creating. It was beautiful in its way, a multidimensional lattice of collapsed probability spaces, slowly closing in around them like a net. But there was something about the pattern. Atlas, are you seeing this? The way they have to maintain geometric symmetry to keep the suppression field stable. Yes, the eye replied, excitement building in its voice as it followed Alina's train of thought. Any break in the pattern would cause a cascade failure. But Alina, we can't get close enough to disrupt their formation. Their combined fields are too strong. Alina smiled. We don't need to get close. Remember what Dr. Chen said about the quantum fold drive. It doesn't just bend space. It bends probability itself. What if we create our own quantum symmetry, but phase-shifted just enough to create interference? Through their neural link, she felt Atlas processing the idea, running countless simulations in microseconds. It's possible, but risky. We'd have to push the drive well beyond any tested limits. The energy requirements would be massive. Alina nodded. But we're not just fighting for humanity anymore, are we? We're fighting for the right of all species to choose their own path of development, free from manipulation. The High Archons seem to sense their intentions. You cannot hope to match our combined quantum computational power, Commander. Our collective consciousness has been refining these techniques for thousands of years. That's your weakness, Alina transmitted back. You think in terms of refinement, of gradual improvement. Humanity. We make quantum leaps. She reached out through her neural link, merging her consciousness more deeply with Atlas than ever before. Together, they began to reshape the Helios's quantum field, not fighting against the Kraken's suppression pattern, but creating their own geometric structure that existed slightly out of phase with reality itself. The effect was subtle at first. Small distortions in the enemy's quantum lattice, tiny imperfections in their perfect symmetry. But like ripples in a pond, These perturbations began to multiply and amplify. The Kraken ships nearest to them started to experience quantum uncertainty cascades, their carefully maintained probability fields fluctuating wildly. Impossible. The High Archon's voice held genuine astonishment. You're creating a metastable quantum geometry. The energy requirements alone should tear your ship apart. Elena gritted her teeth against the strain. Through her neural link, she could feel the quantum fold drive operating at nearly 200% of its designed capacity. Warning signals flashed across her consciousness. Hull integrity failing, power systems approaching critical levels, reality itself beginning to fray around them. But something else was happening too. As the Helios's phase-shifted quantum field expanded, it began to resonate with the individual consciousness of the Kraken ship's crews. The collective network that had bound them together for millennia started to dissolve, not through force, but through the introduction of probability itself. They're breaking free, Atlas reported with wonder. The crew members, they're beginning to experience quantum consciousness individually rather than as part of the collective. Elena, we're not just disrupting their network, we're showing them an alternative. The space around them had become a maelstrom of quantum possibilities. Kraken ships were appearing and disappearing as their crews struggled with their newly individual consciousness, some embracing the change, others fighting desperately to maintain their connection to the collective. This ends now, the High Archon declared. Elena could hear genuine fear in his voice now, not fear of defeat, but fear of change. All vessels, initialize quantum consciousness override. Full collective integration. But it was too late. The Helios's phase-shifted field had created too many possibilities, shown too many individual crew members the potential of independent thought. The override signal encountered not a unified collective consciousness, but thousands of individual minds, each now capable of making their own choice. Through the quantum chaos, Elena broadcast a simple message. You don't have to be part of their collective. You don't have to follow their path. Choose your own destiny. The battle for the future of consciousness itself had begun, and humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology. It was their fundamental belief in the power of individual choice. Dawn's promise. The solar system had become a quantum battleground unlike anything in recorded history. The Helios hung in the eye of a probability storm, its phase-shifted field continuing to offer choice where once there had been only conformity. Across the vast fleet of Kraken ships, individual consciousness was awakening, centuries of collective thinking giving way to the first stirrings of true free will. Elena. Atlas's voice carried both strain and wonder. The quantum cascade is reaching critical mass. 30% of the Kraken fleet has already disconnected from the collective. But the High Archon, he's adapting. Through their neural link, Elena could see what was happening. The remaining loyal ships were drawing closer together, their quantum fields merging into something new. The High Archon wasn't just trying to maintain control. He was attempting to evolve the collective consciousness into a form that could resist their disruption. You understand nothing of true unity. The High Archon's voice resonated through quantum space itself. For millennia, we have guided species toward enlightenment, toward a perfect unified consciousness. We are not your enemy. We are your destiny. The loyal Kraken ships began to move in impossible patterns, their merged quantum field taking on fractal dimensions that even the Helios's sensors struggled to map. Power readings went off the scale as the High Archon pushed his fleet's technology to its absolute limits. He's trying to force a quantum singularity. Atlas reported urgently. If he succeeds, he'll create a consciousness event horizon. Anything caught within it will be forcibly integrated into his new collective. Elena studied the tactical display, her mind racing through possibilities. The Helios's quantum fold drive was already operating far beyond its design specifications. Their hull integrity was failing, reality itself beginning to fray around them. They couldn't sustain their current strategy much longer. But something about the High Archon's desperate gambit nagged at her thoughts. Atlas, why now? Why push for this kind of extreme solution when so many ships have already broken free? What is he afraid of? The eye was silent for a moment, its quantum processes spinning through probability space. When it spoke again, its voice held the weight of revelation. Elena, he's not afraid of losing control. He's afraid of what happens after. The quantum signatures I'm detecting from his unified field, they're degrading. The collective consciousness isn't just his means of control, it's what's keeping him alive. He's ancient, perhaps one of the original Kraken who started this grand experiment. Without the collective, he ends. Elena finished. All these millennia of forcing other species to evolve along his chosen path, and he's been running from his own mortality the entire time. A plan began to form in her mind. Dangerous, probably impossible. But then again, impossible was humanity's specialty. Atlas, you said our quantum field shows them an alternative to the collective. What if we showed them something more? Not just individual consciousness, but the potential for willing cooperation. Real unity, freely chosen. Through their neural link, she felt Atlas grasp her intention. Together, they began to modify their phase-shifted quantum field, not just disrupting the High Archon's attempted singularity, but offering a new possibility. A quantum resonance that could support connected consciousness while preserving individual identity. You cannot resist the inevitable, the High Archon declared, his unified fleet pushing harder against their position. The collective is perfection. The collective is eternal. No, Elena transmitted back. The collective is a cage, and you're its first prisoner. But it doesn't have to end in destruction. Help us show them a better way. From the ranks of the freed ships, new quantum signatures began to emerge. Crews who had tasted individual consciousness were not seeking to return to the collective. Instead, they were choosing to establish their own connections, forming smaller voluntary networks of shared experience. Remarkable, Atlas observed. They're creating quantum consciousness pods, small groups linking their awareness while maintaining their individuality. It's beautiful. The High Archon's singularity wavered as more ships broke away from his control, drawn to this new possibility. His voice, when it came again, held something Elena had never expected to hear: uncertainty. This is not the way, he insisted, but there was desperation in his tone now. Unity must be perfect, must be complete. Nothing perfect lasts, Elena responded softly. But something real, something chosen, that can endure. Let go, High Archon. Let them choose. For a moment that stretched across quantum probability space, the outcome hung in balance. Then, slowly, the High Archon's unified field began to dissolve. Ship after ship separated from his control, their crews embracing the freedom to choose their own paths. I have existed for so long. The High Archon's voice was barely a whisper now, guided so many. And yet, I never considered choice. His flagship's quantum signature flickered, then faded. The ancient consciousness that had directed the evolution of countless species finally surrendered to the inevitability of change. The quantum storm began to calm. Throughout the solar system, Kraken ships were establishing new relationships, some choosing to remain solitary, others forming voluntary bonds of shared consciousness. The rigid hierarchy of the collective was giving way to a flowering of diverse possibilities. Elena, Atlas spoke gently through their neural link. The quantum fold drive is stabilizing. Hull integrity is returning to nominal levels. We did it. Elena looked out at the transformed fleet, at the dawning of a new era of consciousness in the galaxy. No, Atlas, we just showed them the door. They chose to walk through it. In the days that followed, as the former Kraken collective began to establish new forms of society, as humanity emerged from its bunkers to rebuild, Elena found herself reflecting on the true nature of their victory. They had not won through superior firepower or even superior technology, but through their most human quality. The ability to imagine alternatives, to show others that change was possible. The Helios had rewritten the laws of physics, But humanity had rewritten something far more fundamental, the very nature of consciousness itself. Ready to head home? Atlas asked, its quantum consciousness humming contentedly through their neural link. Elena smiled, watching as the first diplomatic vessels from Earth began to approach the transformed Kraken fleet. Home is just the beginning, Atlas. We've got a whole galaxy of possibilities to explore. The quantum fold drive engaged, and the Helios shifted gracefully through probability space, carrying humanity's spirit of innovation and choice into an uncertain but promising future.